I was born in Krakow. My family was living in a predominantly German city called Torun, so my first language was in fact German. In 1937, my family decided to move to Warsaw. I had lessons with a rabbi, so for about an hour a day during normal school while the kids were learning French, I was learning about the Torah and all of the aspects of Judaism. In 1939, my mother and father went on a business trip to the United States. This was in the period post-Kristallnacht, you know, the first real public break against the Jewish people in Germany. The press accounts in New York City at that time were very frightening about what was going on in Europe. My family made a specific decision not to go back. My mother and father decided to stay in New York, subject obviously to getting me out of Poland and into the United States. A very close friend of my father's, my pseudo-uncle, Norbert, was coming to the United States, and so they made arrangements for Norbert to bring me. Virtually the same time as the German army was marching in, I was marching out. Main recollection I had of that trip was a train ride through the heart of Nazi Germany, and that was my first really frightening experience because at every stop, German Gestapo officers entered who wanted to see our papers and looked us over. And, my papers were Polish travel documents that had my religion stamped on them, and I knew what that meant. We got a very significant eyeball from these Gestapo agents that interviewed us, so to speak. But after a while, they kind of let us go. We land in New York Harbor. We had to wait for a ferry to take us to a place that I'd never heard of before called Ellis Island. I was thoroughly investigated, my health was checked, and we finally got visitor's visa papers that allowed us to enter the United States. And I greeted my mother in tears, and I was now on U.S. soil for the first time. There was a lot of excitement associated with it in my mind, but not the sense that it was a permanent move out of Poland. But June of 1940, my mother got the news that her father had been murdered by the Nazis. My mother's father, my grandfather, was like a saint to my mother. My mother came close to having a complete breakdown. She was so stricken by this news. And that's just something I could never forget. My parents were not going back to Poland. They were broke and had enough money to go to another place, so we used that money to travel to Los Angeles. My mother gets a job as a dishwasher. My father gets a job as a night watchman. And they basically tried to network their way into better circumstances. But the first person to network their way into better circumstances was me. One of the people that my parents knew was in the film business. And I got a part in a movie called The Greenie, which was about a Polish kid lands in the east side of New York, looking out the window at a sandlot baseball game, and wants to get involved. The kids don't accept me right away. In fact, they kind of rough me up a little bit. But then, when they realize what I'd been through and I lost my mother in an air raid, they more or less took me in and invited me to play in their baseball game. Well, you can guess what happens. I hit the home run, you know, running around the bases, yelling home run, home run, home run. And here I am, I'm going to be celebrating my 86th birthday, and The Greenie was filmed when I was, I think, 10.
You're not a greenhorn anymore. Yeah, you're a yank now, Skeezy.
But I think you could ascribe it as a sort of a mini life story.
Tad definitely does not take the United States for granted. It's something that he feels that he's lucky to have lived here. And You know, Tad's the kind of guy that if you throw him into a pool, he's going to learn how to swim. He just always comes up successful.
Tad embraced everything America had to offer, from his studies at Stanford to serving as an officer in the U.S. Air Force, to seizing opportunities in the open market for big ideas.
Tad has had an incredibly varied business career, from semiconductors to the women's apparel industry, to football, to obviously real estate, in which he's done extremely well. The common theme in all of these areas is his entrepreneurship. Tad is able to see possibilities and able to build businesses where no one else sees them. Tad had an incredible impact on the Correct Corporation, a maker of women's apparel. When the company was troubled, he came in and he helped them to identify what was valuable in the company, to sell the women's apparel business to Levi Strauss, to regard the retail storefronts as real estate assets and then monetize those, building wealth for Joe and Stephanie Correct.
The exponential success of Tad Taube's endeavors led to the formation of the Correct Foundation, and later, the Taube Philanthropies, both leading philanthropic organizations in the Bay Area and worldwide that Tad guided from their inception.
Not a day goes by where you don't see the good works of Tad Taube.
Tad Taube is a constructive force wherever he is. He always looks to accomplish something positive.
Just here in the Bay Area, supporting Stanford, UC, San Jose State, SF MoMA, the Opera, libraries, the Bay Lights.
Or, of course, JFCS, where he has supported these programs so well over the years, truly changing the lives of children and adults, and often at the times they need it most.
I want to underscore my commitment to this organization and to the work they do. The best Jewish organization that I know of, bar none. They have the biggest reach, the biggest impact, biggest heart, and I am absolutely in awe of the work they do on emergency assistance. I'm in awe because people that I know who are in dire straits, that have nowhere else to turn, and the work that they've done, and the change in the lives of those people that they've been able to affect. They've saved lives. They've literally saved lives. It's an incredible part of that organization.
Not content to only help save lives, Tad also set out to save Jewish history in the nation of his birth, where Jewish life and culture had suffered near total annihilation.
Historię polskich Żydów właściwie wymazano z kart pamięci i wymazano z kart historii. Tak ją wymazywano, jak dzieci w szkole wymazują gumką niepotrzebne zdania.
Little by little, we found little vestiges of Jewish life. And so I have to tell you that it was Anita Friedman that gave me personally the support during that difficult period when anything and everything that we were doing was like crawling on our hands and knees. It was really hard, painful work. Supporting what appeared to be a flicker of Jewish life in Poland. When I say flicker, that could be an exaggeration. Poland, as everyone knows, was essentially a cemetery for the Jewish people, where 6.5 million Jews perished.
The idea of revitalizing Jewish life in Poland, where the Jewish community had essentially been wiped out by the Nazis, would have been regarded by most people as impossible or too much to take on. And yet Tad has taken it on and made it happen.
Tej kreacji Tada Taube w Polsce polega między innymi na tym, że on przyniósł to swoje doświadczenie wieloletnie, którego my nie mieliśmy, prawda? Pojęcie filantropii w tej rzeczywistości przed rokiem 1989 praktycznie miało charakter wyłącznie literacki. Ale Ted Pojawił się tu, myślę, jakby postać, która niosła pewną experience, tak, doświadczenie, myśl, ale także i serce, wie pani.
Myślę, że działalność Tada Taube wpisuje się właśnie w ten najlepszy amerykański koncept przywództwa w świecie. Nie przez siłę, tylko poprzez własne doświadczenia, poprzez wielkie wartości i poprzez szukanie sojuszników, swoich wysiłków i szczególnie ze swojej pozycji prezydenta, którym byłem przez 10 lat, jestem mu za to bardzo wdzięczny.
Tadzik, kochany, ty uczestniczyłeś w takiej ilości przedsięwzięć żydowskich w Polsce, że nie można tego tutaj wymienić. A ukoronowaniem właściwie takiej całej twojej działalności jest Muzeum Historii Żydów Polskich Polin, gdzie teraz siedzimy.
Built on the site of the Warsaw Ghetto, the award-winning Polin Museum of the History of Polish Jews brings to life the vivid 1,000-year history of Jews in Poland.
Tad Taube supports Jewish causes, but it isn't so much that they're Jewish. It is what can we learn from the Jewish history that can help us now in order to have a lesson for the future. So, thank you, Tad.
Basically, I think that my dad was put on this earth because he knows how to help other people, and above all, he just really likes helping other people. There's a lot of inspiration in his life because I've never seen him stop being optimistic when he's doing a task. I've just seen him keep doing it from a different angle and completing the task every time.
It is truly amazing how Tad Taube's focus and generosity has changed this area, has changed the United States, has changed Poland, and has changed Israel. What an achievement for a young man who came here with nothing and has given back so much more.